Hi guys, today I'm going to be teaching you the move, uh, which is just a combination of this kind of flirt. It's called. Well, it's not really doing this part. You're only going to be using the pivot part, and then it's also this move called the flirris. It's a really fidget. It's a really cool fidget move made by Van and Dave. I just do this unconsciously, and it's pretty fun. So I decided, well, I didn't decide. It was an unconscious decision, but I decided to combine both of them. Okay, so here I'll teach the mechanics. First, you can do this with the full deck. In the demo I only used half, but I think full deck totally works. I tried it with the full deck. You can also do quarter, but I think half is the best place to start, and I'll explain why that is later. Okay, so the mechanics. For the position, you'll be putting the middle and the fourth finger on the front edge, and then thumb on the back. I put it like a little bit away from the very end, just because if I do this, it's less grippier. If it's this, more stable. But you don't want to put it in the center, because if you do it in the center, the pivot card isn't going to pivot. Well, pivoted card, I mean. So what's going to happen is, you probably know this from moves like the worm and other stuff, but you'll be pivoting this card out like so. This happens when you're using middle finger as axis, and then you just push the card this direction, so it automatically spins about 90 degrees maximum. And then here's what's going to happen. This is, I think, one of the key parts of the move. You're gonna push the card back, making in this direction, and using this axis again, you're going to rotate the card as such, making this kind of a cool shape. And then from this position, I'll show you that again. Pivot, pull back, pivot again. Then, so basically it's two pivots, but once you do it fast, it looks like it's just spinning. And then here's what's going to happen from now. Basically, what you have in this position is you're going to have the right bottom corner between the middle and the index finger. With it, inertia moving this direction is actually going to go in that position much faster, but since I have to do this slowly, this will suffice. And then what you're just going to do is, while you're holding the deck with just the fourth and maybe the pinky if you want, I kind of automatically tend to do this, you're going to grab the card like this, just between this two finger. And then what's going to happen is you're just going to twist it like this by bringing the middle finger to the top. So you have this kind of, I guess it's 180 degrees, and then you release it onto the deck like such. Okay, once again, I'll also go over the dropping part, which I think is one of the most trickiest part. This and this, and then you'll be putting the card between those two fingers, and then dropping is, I think the hardest part, especially if you're just going to drop it onto this packet, which I tend to do a lot. You can also do this kind of stuff, but I think just as a fidget move, the dropping is more fun. Basically what's going to happen is you're going to just let go of the middle finger while tilting the hand in this direction, like that. So while it's in this position, because if it's this, it's just gonna fall like that, this direction. Also, if you just drop it like this, it's still going to drop. So what you have to do is, this end has to go in this end, and once it's in this position, it's automatically gonna go into place. So how you do that is, you're either going to do this jerking motion, or you can just release this card slower, just like so. Again, the card is pivoted out, goes into this position. Another tip is, when you're doing this, I suggest that you try to make the axis as far away as possible. Okay, and the reason why you do this, like making the index corner as much as right bottom as possible is because you want to pinch the card at the end as possible. Because here's the thing. Because this finger has to be straight in order for it to pivot, like such. This is the only way that it's going to be, as you can see, aligned with the deck. If it's like a little bit like this, it's not aligned, and then it's much harder to put the card in the position. It's not impossible, but it's much more simple if you have it in the corner, because it's going to automatically drop regardless of what kind of motion you do. It also helps to put the card in this angle rather than this angle, because as you can see, if it's in this angle, it's going to draw more square as this angle, which is going to make a bigger drop, I guess. But this can mostly cover, like whatever you do can be mostly covered by your hand movement. So I think if you're just fidgeting, you just drop it and think like you're trying to, as this card is falling, you're trying to catch it with this hand. So it's like when this falls, I have to catch it with this hand. And then that is exactly actually right, because when you're actually doing the move, and you have here, you actually have to bring this and pinch it with these two fingers. And then after you have done this, because your card is always never going to be perfectly aligned like this, you just pivot it a little, and it's in the perfect position to either square it up or just combo with another move, I guess. And I also kind of want to go over the hand position, hand angles, I guess, because I think that's the mechanics is simple. As you can see, there's nothing really difficult about this. It's just a little bit of knack, as it requires speed, which isn't that hard, and then you also have to do the dropping part, and that's why the hand position is important. And basically, if you just do this motion, it's gonna come naturally. As you can see, I did that fast. That's how it looks like if you're doing it fast. It looks like it's going back and forth. It looks like the card is spinning, and it is spinning. So in this position, well, until this, your deck can be mostly parallel to the ground because there is no action required. But from this position, it's almost impossible to just hold the deck parallel to the ground. It is, if you move it like this, it is possible, but it's much more simpler to adjust your hand position like this. So what I would do is, once you have done this, you just tilt the hand this forward, making this part much easier. So as you can see, it's much easier to grab the card. And then when you're dropping the card onto the deck, you're just going to tilt your hand right side, so it makes it much easier to square the cards up automatically. Like I said, you can do this pretty parallel to the ground, but as you can see, it's because there's so little distance, the card has to flip like this, and then the distance is very narrow, so it's much easier if it's in this direction, because as you can see, the amount it can spin is perfect compared to this, where it actually gets stuck on the way. Some applications, I guess. Basically, I think this display is it has some potential. I mean, holding card like this is not anything new. A lot of people have done that, but what I just did is just to pivot the card out and do this one-handedly. So I guess you can use that as protection too. I mean, I think there are better protections, but it is a choice. And then after this, I think a good way to combo would be just to, after you have done the pivot and this rotating thing, you can just place it like this, or you can maybe do something on the left hand, I guess. Well, that one tragically, but you get it. It's a fun move. I don't think there's anything hard. You can practice for an hour and you'll get it down really easily. But it is um, it the main point I want to specify is that it requires a lot of speed. You just want to do this very quickly. I mean, when this motion. Oh, I also forgot to mention this. When you're pivoting this the first time, I mentioned that this has to be in the very edge for in order to spin easier, more easily. Um, and then basically how you do this is just because you're going to jerk your hand forward a bit. It's not going to be this much, but there's this motion. It's a it's a flow where you're basically just going to follow what the card is moving. So back a little, and then since this card is rotating this way, you're also just going to move it right forward this direction. Just like so. And there you go. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial, I guess. Let's do a mockingbird from that. Wow. Never mind.